Good day, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio, broadcasting from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I'm JJ, and I'm pretty excited that we got a really big show for you today. You know him as the bass player, lyricist, founding member of legendary band Skid Row, who will soon be starting a fresh leg of The Gang's All Here tour, starting in Eugene, Oregon, and wrapping up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. My guest this week, Rachel Bolan. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Wow, what an intro. That was cool.
Thank you.
Makes me sound important.
You are. You're very important. And happy belated birthday to you.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody, man. It was crazy. Every birthday is like, what, just with the internet and stuff like that. So many people wishing me a happy birthday. It felt nice. It was really cool, man. And I appreciate it.
Landmark, huh?
Yeah, that's what they tell me.
People keep that hush.
Yeah, no, man. I just, I made it to 60. It's just like,
but young at heart, right?
Yeah, you're as young as you want to be. Some people say you're as young as you feel. I can't always say that's true, but you're as young as you want to be. And in my brain, I'm still 26 years old, so it's all good.
That's all good. Well, I think I saw you for the first time. You're probably 26, so there you go. I think
all right,
6 months older. That's all good.
Frozen in time. There you go.
There you go. So these dates coming up, and again, once again, I'm in Vancouver, which I'm pretty excited about because not only are you playing in Vancouver proper, you're also playing in Coquitlam, British Columbia, which is only a half hour, 40 minutes from downtown. These dates were originally going to happen last October.
Correct.
And rescheduled with a bunch more dates. So yeah, there's an extensive run between Vancouver, British Columbia, and Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
How's that going? And how is it doing the rescheduling? Because I've seen, there has been some illness and so forth, and you've had to reschedule some dates here and there. Is it a bit of a challenge keeping that momentum going?
Sometimes, yeah. It's like we rescheduled October to now because of Eric's health and his doctor visits and stuff like that, and doctor suggestions from what I'm told. And so and then we went out on schedule in December to do a run in December, and a bunch of us some got the flu, some got COVID, and it got to the point where most of the band was down for the count. So, and then half the crew. So we're like, man, that's what Boise is. Boise is a makeup from that run. And it was just, we got to finish a damn run, man. And it's tough touring these days, because it's like getting a cold used to be no big deal. Now it seems to be a big deal. So, but we like to keep the momentum going. What's that?
Well, no, I was kind of interesting because when I saw you last was actually just when they were talking about the world shutting down. You played in Ferndale, Washington on March 7th, 2020. And my wife and I went down to see that show, and people were saying, you sure you want to cross? You might not be able to get back, and maybe that show's not happening. And you could definitely feel an aura even then of something is about to happen. And we like to think that it's done. And even though I think in some ways it feels like it's a while ago, but it's still pretty fresh. How was that time for you?
That was crazy, just seeing what was kind of coming down on everyone, especially if you make your living traveling in whatever capacity, whether you're a musician or you're just a business guy that has to get on a plane every single day. It was a huge impact on us as it was for everyone else. But it's just like when we got into 2020, and all of a sudden it was just like, boom, everything was just, and we were terrified, we were terrified about getting sick because no one had any idea of what was going to happen with COVID. And just all we don't have to even go through it. We saw what happened and all the people that passed and all that. So it was like, okay, everything is shut down. It's okay. The supermarket, we could get food, but we can't go on the road. We can't play in front of people, and we can't get in crowded places. And it was just, after doing it for as long as I've been doing it since I was professionally doing it since I was 22 years old, touring the world. And all of a sudden now we can't, it can't be done. But you just had to sit there and go, okay, well, it's for good reason, obviously. but we're out of the woods, I think, but I think we're just on the edge of the woods because
Yes.
I mean, we just got it. We just got sick. Granted, it, I'm not a scientist. I don't claim to be, but I know I had COVID twice, and both times it felt different. So there's some kind of mutation going on there, you know.
Fair
But
enough. Fair
like I
enough.
said,
Err on the side of
I,
caution, be smart.
yeah, I'm just glad we're able to go back out and we're able to play, and we just got to be smart about it, you know. I don't care what people say. I wear a mask on airplanes. I
Good for you.
really don't
That's
care.
awesome. Good for you.
I also haven't got the flu, you know, in a really long time from that. But it is what it is. Everyone does their own thing. I just wish we could all get on the same page and, you know, just kind of
Yeah, yeah,
carry on with
yeah,
life. But
yeah,
it is what it is.
yeah. So was it a benefit or a blessing in disguise in a weird way? Was it during that time when you did most of the writing and some of maybe pre-production of the gangs all here, or was some of that getting worked on before that time?
Yeah, after like everyone decided, okay, let's get in a room and play. I mean, Snake and I would write on Zoom, which was very odd because if you're playing through an amplifier, the microphone just condenses it and I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
So you got to play really easy or listen to an idea. And then, you know, but that was strange. But yeah, it gave us time to, you know, uh get some thoughts together. I mean, I said during that whole thing, I go, man, there's going to be a lot of creativity at the back end of this and a lot of good art and good music and just really creative stuff. And it seems like that was kind of the case. A lot of bands all of a sudden just came out with new music, kind of forced, you know, to sit in a room and take care of things, which is cool. It was just a stir crazy, man. That's what was getting me, is not being able to do what I do at full capacity. But we did write a lot of stuff and came up with a lot of things and worked around it. So
And well, I will say the album is a ridiculous album. If people haven't got it
thank
yet,
you.
you really should. It's arguably, I'd say, one of the most complete albums. Not to discredit the rest of the catalog because the catalog is brilliant, but
Thank
just to
you.
come up with that record at that point, and I think perhaps having Nick on board producing it, how was recording with Nick and that whole procedure? And of course Eric, because Eric lays down a phenomenal
Yeah, he did. Eric did great.
performance. Yeah,
Nick was the guy that I always give him most of the credit for being able to wrangle our brains after all these years and get us to retrace our steps, because he had said something during pre-production that still resonates to this day. Now, when I pick up a guitar or a bass to write a song for Skid Row, he said to all of us, he said, it sounds like you guys are a bit timid or afraid to be Skid Row. You don't sound enough like Skid Row. You sound like a band, but it doesn't sound like the Skid Row that I was a teen listening to. And that was the major factor, that he was a fan before he was a producer. And that came into play when he would just say, you know, that idea, that doesn't sound like a Rachel Bolan bass line, man. That sounds like a bass line, but it doesn't sound. And he'd do that with Snake, and he'd do that with Rob, and he did it with Scotty. And so it was just one of those things where it sounds like it's easy to just jump back 35 years, but it's really hard. You know what I mean?
no
Because
doubt.
there's been so much life and so much creativity in different directions, whether you're doing it with other artists and other bands or just writing in general. You have your whole life to write your first album, but then everything else, life gets in between your train of thought. So it was, he was a good psychologist with all that, and he would throw out examples like, man, I'm thinking in this part maybe a little lick, sort of like you did in, you know, Making a Mess or whatever, whoever he was talking to. And he was the wrangler, man, and he is a creative force. Like, that guy just comes up with ideas. He goes, you know, just like I said, you need a bridge, you need something. And he'd use words like, you just need something that just explodes, like you did in Riot Act, or like you did in this type of song, you know. And it came easier as the process went along, but his process is old school production. Like, if you got a delicate ego, you know, he's not the guy, because he is. And we need honesty, and that's we're always really honest with each other. And we would bring in an idea. He'd be like, man, it's okay. Or let's work on it. Or it's cool. Or that sucks. What are you even playing that for us for? You know what I mean? And it's really great. It's really great when you've been doing it as long as we have. You don't want a yes man. You don't want someone blowing smoke up your ass. You just want someone to say, okay, that sucked. Or what you guys, and he told me that, man. I brought in a song. He's like, I'm hearing something like you need something like a big guns type of thing. So I brought it. I had a riff and some lyrics, and I brought it in. I played it for him. He's like, man, that sucks. I was just like, all right, push it to the side. And then towards the end, he's like, we still need another song. And I was like, well, I got this song. I haven't played it for anyone, but I demoed it with my friend, and because none of us live in the same city anymore. So I demoed it with my friend Matt, doing vocals, Matt Farley, and I brought him Time Bomb. And everyone just looks at me and goes, what? Why didn't you bring this in at the beginning of the thing? And SKID just goes, this is your last minute idea. SKID is always so hard on me. It's great though. It's great.
I can almost see the face.
Yeah.
And
so I was like, I didn't think you guys would like it. So I just kind of put it to the side because, you know, granted, Snake and I do a bulk of the songwriting, but you want everyone to get lit up, you know, when you walk in a room with the song, and when they don't, you could tell. And it's a daunting process, man. Even after all these years, you want to impress your bros. You want to come in with a song and that everyone goes, hell yeah, I know exactly what I'm going to do there. I didn't think anyone was going to like it because I completed it really quickly. And then I just kind of, no one's going to dig it. No one's going to dig it. And then I brought it in. Yeah. And the Scotty's reaction was the best. So
what else you hiding then?
Yeah, he's like,
what else are you hiding?
and I go, I got an idea. He's like, any other ideas that you're not telling us about? So I was like, no, that's the last one, man.
So it's a double album out of nowhere.
Yeah, but you know, it was cool, man. It was cool to see everyone get hyped up. And then, like you said, Eric came into the fold late in the game, and he couldn't travel because coming off his illness, and then it was just easier to have Nick and him one-on-one where he would lay down ideas once we decided he was going to be the guy. And yeah, so he did it all at home, and him and Nick would stay in contact, and Nick would play it for us, and we'd have little tweaks we want to do. And that's how we did the vocals, except for 2 songs.
Yeah. So when I first saw that Nick was doing the record, I was pretty excited as a massive Rush fan and Alice in Chains fan, because what he did with that last Rush album is just
incredible.
Constantly, is just ridiculous. And when Al came back with Black Gives Way to Blue, I'm like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was feeling pretty good that what he's going to do with you guys would be pretty ridiculous, and it sure was.
Yeah, yeah, so I'm really proud of it. What's that?
You clearly never work with him again, it sounds like.
I'm trying to. Hey, will you sign this? Means you have to do every album until the end of our career.
Perfect.
He's a really good guy too. He's become a very, very dear and close friend. So it makes things working together a lot easier. But what's great is he doesn't pull any punches, because there's friend, like good friend Nick, and there's producer Nick, and it's awesome because everybody understands that.
Very good. Well, back to Eric. So Eric is, I would say, is getting extremely well received. Footage I've seen, the guy just seems to be getting more comfortable every time. How's that been? It's been pretty much 2 years ago already that he was announced as, the guy.
Yeah, he came on in early 22, I believe. And so we did a lot of touring and put out that record, and we have a live record coming up.
Oh,
we recorded the last time we played in London, and for all the old road dogs in the band, we were like, man, London has always been that place, that coming from New Jersey and New York area, it was London, man. That was the fantasy, the far off land that a lot of our favorite bands came from, and that was the way up on the bucket list. And so when we signed with Ear Music, they said, let's do a live record, but we're looking at all the tour dates. We think London would be great. And we were just like, hell yeah.
Perfect.
Hell yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
And so we did. And it's all we're just getting the artwork and all that together. But yeah, we're psyched. It's probably going to be released in the spring, I believe. So
okay. So just
yeah.
audio or DVD Blu-ray as well, or?
Oh yeah, it's DVD, Blu-ray, and an album. Yeah.
And album.
Yeah, coming out on vinyl, baby.
Perfect, as it
Yeah.
should. And
Yeah.
Laserdisc, maybe.
What's that?
Do the vinyl Laserdisc package. Keep it real.
Yeah, right. That would be great. But yeah, the whole show's recorded and videoed. So.
And was that during some time when you were playing with Kiss, or were these a separate run?
No, this was our own headline show,
right,
in London. I guess that would have been
2022,
the end of 2022, okay. I believe. So
perfect.
Yeah, man, we're stoked.
That's excellent. And then you should also be stoked that last month, or just a couple of weeks ago, was the 35th anniversary of the release of the debut album. Perhaps you're a little bit exhausted about talking about that, but I have to wonder sometimes with musicians that are involved with these classic landmark albums versus a fan or just somebody who digs it, how you can process it as a person who's directly involved with the making of the record. Like I know how it feels to me, but I'm wondering how it is to the artist that's directly involved with that. And do they quite maybe understand the impact, or does it hit you a different way?
When I reflect on it, when I really sit down and think like I am now, because we're having this conversation, I get pretty blown away and quietly emotional. Okay, so before that album came out, and even before I met SKID, and then before I met Snake and anybody, it was just a dream that I was working so hard at achieving. Or I'd write a million songs in my older bands before Skid Row, and then I met SKID and I wrote songs in that band, and then Skid Row came along and started as a songwriting partnership, and just all the dreams that kept layering on top of each other to finally put out our first album, and for it to be received the way it was. All the factors involved, whatever it was, help from Bon Jovi and Atlantic Records picking us up, and John just really being a coach, all that in it, we still delivered as songwriters and as a band, where I have the feeling it's just another dream achieved and another goal achieved. So now we look 35 years later, and this album has so much meaning to millions and millions of people. That's the big payoff for me. It's knowing that something I was involved in artistically and creatively has resonated with so many people. Man, when I think about it, it just absolutely blows my mind. Even like occasionally, right now I'm staying, I have a house, we bought a house in my hometown, so I'm back in Toms River, New Jersey temporarily, and I'm just like, I'll run into people and they'll just, at the supermarket, they'll just bring up the first record, and then it's like, wow, I'm getting recognized. This is so weird. I'm in my hometown. And because I just kind of figured those days were over, but and there's people talking about like they turned their younger brothers onto it, or younger sisters, siblings, and or their mom and dad told them about it, and they're just like, they love playing this song, playing that. And it just really blows my mind that we're that important. So to answer your question, how it makes me feel, I could remember every step of the process like it just happened before I called you. You know what I mean? Like I remember where we were when we started writing Here I Am. I remember when we finished I Remember You. I remember all the writing stuff, and then all like the little arguments that had to do with little things, little parts and egos and stuff like that, which wasn't major, but it's just another dynamic that came with writing that album. And then to be so young and have so much going on at that time, And then, one day we're playing Asbury Park. The next day we're opening for Bon Jovi at Reunion Arena. A few months later, we're flying to Russia. You know what I mean? We're flying to, Russia to do two shows in Lenin Stadium. And you're just like, again, Russia, you got like all you saw was in history books when you were kids. And when you got there, it's like, wow, it looked just like the picture at that time. It doesn't look like that anymore. And then we're in England, Milton Keynes opening for Bon Jovi, and Europe, I think, was on the bill, and Vixen. And here we are, a new band. And we're just like, wow. And that blew us up in the UK. And it's just like everything. Then going out on tour with Aerosmith and linking up with Motley in Europe, and it just, I could remember everything. You know what I mean? Like, my friends are amazed. They're like, "How do you
That's
remember
awesome, though, that you do. That's awesome.
all these stories?" I'm like, "Don't do drugs, kids. I don't do drugs." So it's like, I just the experiences that have happened over the years, and what I've been afforded, the life that I've been afforded because of it. It really makes you stop and take pause and go, wow, this has been a ride, man. And it's still going. And it's amazing, man. The thanks and gratitude I have to everybody that has helped along the way. And I'm talking about fans and just everyone that has helped me personally and given me support. My family, my friends that are just like, "Come on, man, you could do this." And that helped me lug gear when I was playing a battle of the bands, before Skid Row. I just think of all those components, and it's a pretty complicated feeling. So you have to, I'm sure you understand like how quietly emotional it makes me when I sit there and I reflect on it. It's been an incredible experience and ride. It's just been amazing.
I can see you're super grateful for it. But then,
absolutely.
But then you had to ruin it. You follow up, like, not only is the debut album ridiculous, then you do Slave to the Grind. Like, come on already. Like, was that, most bands would love to have that one record in their pocket. And if they get lucky enough to have that strong debut album, there's always that pressure of what are you going to do? And then you put out Slave to the Grind. Like, that's just wrong.
It's and it was definitely a different approach too, because our musical taste may have changed, or I shouldn't say taste, because we all still love the same music, but I think our musical approach had changed because we had a little more life experience in us, and like I said, you have your whole life to write your first record. And then you only have a couple years to write the next, and you have to jam a lot of stuff in there. So I think coming out with that record, we did lose a lot of sales, but we did gain a different demographic. So we didn't want to keep, it wasn't a conscious effort, Slave to the Grind, but it was a natural progression to where our heads were at the time, and just the riffs. I'll never forget the day Snake called me. He goes, when we all lived in Jersey, he called me, he goes, "Man, I got this really cool riff for this song. It has an intro," because we were thinking of stuff like "I Want You" by Kiss, stuff like that. And we're like, "Man, that'd be cool to have a song like that." And he goes, why don't you come over and let's work on this?" So I drove over to his house, and I remember hearing him picking part to Monkey Business. And he had the first couple lines, "Outside my window, there's a whole lot of trouble coming." And I'm like, "Dude," I go, "let's just hold on this picking part for a second." Yeah, that's how that's. And I go, let's just think about how cool this picking part is. And that line, "Outside my window, there's a whole lot of trouble coming." I go, we can go absolutely anywhere lyrically with this song. And he goes, "Okay, well, listen to some more." And he had it demoed on a 4-track with a drum machine. And he hits play, and then he goes, and I'm hearing a big scream, and then it goes into the riff, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me with this riff, dude." And so I started writing lyrics, and we got all through it, and brought it to the guys, and we started playing it, then went into pre-production with Michael Wagner. And it's like, where's the chorus? Because the chorus, what is now the chorus, was just a vamp at the end.
Right.
So the chorus was just, to me, it's just monkey business. That's how we heard it. And then Michael Wagner, he's like, it needs a chorus. And we're like, well, that kind of is the chorus. He's like, I don't think that's the chorus. So he's like, this thing at the end, that's the chorus. So he's like, let's take this and put it. He goes, do the double verse that you want to do in the beginning without a chorus, but this is becoming the chorus. Let's try it. And we did it. And we were all just looked at him like, that's why you get paid the big bucks, dude, you know?
Yeah.
And man, I can remember exactly where I was the first time I heard it on the radio. We were in Chicago. My parents were there, and we were just all going clothes shopping, and they came up to see the show. And I remember the guys were like, "Hey, come here, come here, come here." And it was playing on the radio in the van on the radio station. And I was like, wow, we did it again, man. And we have another song on the radio, whether this is the last one, doing some bad decisions picking songs, but that was, and you know, it went what they called breaker back in the day. That meant it was a certified hit. It did that in a week and a half, so technically 2 weeks. But we were like, all right, let's not screw this up.
And that was a swift kick to the head for sure.
Yeah, so I'm so proud of that record. Yeah.
Oh, and you should be. And it's, you basically answered the question though, because yeah, I'll talk to people, and I had a record store for a long time selling music and that, and I talk, you know, Skid Row comes up in conversation, and you go Skid Row, and they go, yeah, good band, and then you go Slave to the Grind, and then, oh yeah, and then you go Monkey Business, and they're like, oh yeah. It's just gradual. It's like, okay, nothing else needs to be said. It's like, yeah, you understand. Just by saying that, it's like, okay, we don't need to discuss any further. Just by your tune, you fully understand.
I think Slave, like the first record, was pretty much the girls, the females faves, you know, even though a lot of guys love that record. But when we came out with Slave, that was, the guys were like, oh yeah, okay, I dig this Skid Row too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate to have the songs that you know, I can't believe how much 18 in Life has just touched people, and we're really fortunate to have like at least 4 or 5 songs in out of our catalog that do that, where some people only have one and some people have none. And I'm just like, it's cool. It's really cool to be able to do that and have enough songs to where, okay, we could put a show together if we're 80 and, you know, 85 years old, put a show together, and here's our nostalgia, you know, and this is nostalgic to people, and it brings up memories and friendships, and it brings up all that stuff. I always say that a song is a photograph in time. I know I have mine. I remember exactly where I was when I first heard Refugee by Tom Petty. And I just remember different things from different songs, and you know, I hope that our songs have the same effect on people.
Well, that's why I'm so happy that Quicksand seems to be kind of a staple of the set, because that's one that just destroys me every time.
Oh yeah, I love playing that song.
It just wrecks me.
That's awesome, man. Thank you.
To jump a bit ahead to Subhuman, which, you know, reading some interviews, it seemed like it was a bit of a odd time, and I think it was an odd time for everyone. But also reading recently, is there any truth to the rumor or something that there might be some ideas of re-recording some of that with Eric? Or is that
it's a rumor. That's really funny, because someone asked but yeah, I've been hearing all kinds of rumors that we're re-recording the first 2 records.
Yeah, good that you said it straight.
Yeah. So I had said in an interview, they said, would you think about going back and re-recording some songs with Eric? And I was like, yeah, why not? Like some deep tracks or something. But yeah, it turned into redoing Subhuman. Now, just the other day, my friend called me and goes, are you recutting the first 2 records with Eric singing? I'm like, no. We're not going to change that, you know, that's our history. We're not going to mess with that.
Yeah. So but it sounds like it was a bit of a tough time, but as an outsider, somebody who just listens to the record, who wasn't there during the process, like yourself, who saw everything go down, just as a person listening to it, I think it's a great record. where it was recorded in Vancouver, where I am.
Yep.
Do you have any memories or any stories or anything you'd care to share about your time in Vancouver?
Yeah, I love Vancouver. I really love that city. I had a really good time. Snake and I would, if we weren't working that day, we shared an apartment. We would.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, I know. It would start off with going to the comic book shop. We'd start there, and then we'd go to the arcade. One or the other would be first, and we'd play racing games like for 4 or 5 hours, and then we'd usually end up at a pub somewhere getting something to eat and having a few beers. And it got to the point, like I used to brew my own beer quite a bit, so I brought a recipe up because in Canada we heard about these brew places, and we're like, yeah, man, this is awesome. So a friend of ours actually worked at one, so we gave him the recipe, and Snake and I, two of the recipes that I had, and they brewed it, and Snake and I had 2 kegs out on our balcony the whole time we were in Vancouver.
Because that was a bit new at the time, you brew.
Yeah, man. It was cool. It was really cool. So, but yeah, the whole recording, it was weird because there was a lot of internal problems with the band. We didn't feel all the songs were quite there, and then we had never worked with a producer other than Michael Wagner. So we worked with Bob Rock, and some stuff went well, some stuff didn't go so well. It's not the album that I was hearing in my head, but there's a lot of creative stuff. I like some of the sounds. I love the drum sound on that record, and Rob Affuso, and Rob Affuso really shined on that record.
Cool.
He played really well. The way we did it, the way we recorded everything, I think it was just so out of our comfort zone. Like, getting out of your comfort zone, I think, is good occasionally, but we were so far removed from the way we did things that it was really hard to make that adjustment in the short time that we had to do it, and it's the album. It is what it is. Like, I like a lot of the songs on the record. I listen, when I hear it, I'm like, oh, I would have done that so much differently these days, but it's there.
You think a track or two might slide into the set at some point, maybe? Because you did Beat Yourself Blind a little bit.
Yeah, we used to do Beat Yourself Blind.
Yeah.
We were talking about doing Medicine Jar. I know when the last time,
interesting. Okay.
When Z was singing for us, we did Medicine Jar in Australia, and people were flipping out. So
good.
That's my favorite song off that record. The solo, that solo is sick. I'm very fortunate to play with 2 of the best guitar players in rock and roll. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh yeah, I know.
This guitar duo is the absolute best. The way those guys work. I just stand back and get out of the way and pedal through the parts. I'm just like, go baby, go.
It's the space I find that they give each other too. Like, they just know when to let it breathe and when to just throw in those runs, and it's just, oh my god.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's really incredible. I was there for most of the solos on Gangs All Here and a lot of the rhythms, and they just played. Nick had them both play in the control room facing each other. Well, they did the rhythms, and if it was a double solo, because he wanted it to be like, he wanted that connection there. When you do it separately, the connection is a little smaller but when you're watching a guy and you can anticipate his move, especially a guy that you've worked with for the better part of 40 years, you read each other's mind musically. And I just watched that, and it was, for lack of a better term, it was magic watching that go down, man. And I just sat there going, man, I am a lucky dude to be in a band with these cats.
Just seeing the dynamics, and
it's incredible. You see it on stage, but it's a different adrenaline. You don't get to relax. And I just got there. I just sat on a couch and watched this and was like, holy shit, man, this is awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Back to the Ubrew though. I wanted to ask you about Skid Row Spirits.
Yeah, man.
Tell us about Skid Row Spirits for those who don't know. And coming out soon. Can we get it in Canada?
Yeah, North America, all of North America. Let's see. I think they'll be taking pre-orders in March. Don't quote me on that, but it has
I'm
all
quoting
the.
you.
What's that?
I'm quoting you.
It has all the info on skidrow.com. But yeah, so we were approached by Brands for Fans who also do spirits for Def Leppard and Alice Cooper and Kiss and all this. And we sat down with them and they said, well, what kind of spirits would you want? And we do drink vodka. And Rob especially is the rum guy. So we all just got in a room and they brought us samples. We had done a TV show in Stockholm. They're out of Sweden, and we had done a TV show. And after that, we met with them, and they brought a bunch of samples, and we just tried little samples of each. And okay, we like this about this one, but not this. So you work really close. It wasn't just one of those things where it's like, oh, cool, we could put our name on it. Go ahead. We do the same with our coffee, and we vet really heavily, the companies as well as the product, because we don't want the Skid Row name on something that someone's gonna just dump down the drain. So we tried it, and then it went. This has been a while in the making, and then we design the bottles, the shape of the bottles, the color of the bottles, what's going to be on the bottle, the marketing plans, and a lot went into it. And they are a great company to work with because they want to make the artist happy, and they also want their names on it too. So they don't want a product going out that's not going to be supported by the artist. So yeah. So it's available overseas in Europe, but I think North America and Australia, it will be available in March. I'm saying that, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, it's on skidrow.com. It has the info.
Credibility and integrity for the beverage is very crucial.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So I know this, back to the Gangs All Here tour, this leg that's about to start with Buck Cherry and Sierra Pilot. I was actually wondering why, after all of these years, you have not had the Faceless people as direct support. Are they just jerks? Are they high?
Oh, that's so funny.
Possible? Like, what's the deal? I want some information and insight on those Faceless people.
Faceless people. Well, one was obviously me. Well,
no,
you're talking. No. Yeah,
I don't buy it.
Yeah, you're talking about the home video, right? Okay. So
perhaps.
Yeah, and then Rex, and then Dimebag. That bus ride. Wow, that is a part of my career that is really hard to recall after the first bottle of tequila, and that we're just doing the whole. I don't know who even came up with that idea. I think Dimebag walked in with a mask with a holes cut in it. We're like, what? And then it just kind of, he took it and edited it. He was so creative, that guy, man. Too funny.
I wanted to see that tour, and now I can't. Maybe we can have maybe a hologram Faceless people tour. How about that?
There you go. And we'll just do our shtick. Yeah. Oh, that's too funny, man.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today. This was really cool, and I want to make sure that everybody does check out the Gangs All Here World Tour. Again, starting in Eugene, Oregon, February 28th, wrapping up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan on March 23rd. Tons of dates in Canada through Vancouver and Thunder Bay, hitting some very unique markets, which is very cool for those towns to see something cool for a change. So go support it. Be sure to check out differentstagesradio.com, because we got tickets to give away to both the Vancouver show and the Coquitlam show. We want to give stuff away. Rachel, you've been awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.
Any last words you want to say, or are you good? We're good?
I'm good, man. Just for all the info, skidrow.com. That's where to go.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, man.